All right. I just want to welcome my friend, Dr. Sam Yelverton today, and he's a new friend who feels like an old friend. And we're just sharing, and this is kind of my theme scripture, Psalm 105, verses 1 through 5. Oh, give thanks to the Lord, call upon his name, make known his deeds among the peoples, sing to him, sing praises to him, tell of all his wondrous works. That's what we're doing. Glory in his holy name. Let the hearts of those who seek the Lord rejoice. Seek the Lord in his strength. Seek his presence continually. Remember the wondrous works he has done, his miracles and the judgments he uttered. So we're going to talk about the wondrous works in the lives of these Yelvertons. So Sam Yelverton is from Jackson here in Mississippi, and his wife Eden just recently joined our practice, and Dr. Sam joined his dad and grandfather in a surgical clinic, Lakeland Surgical. But he shared his testimony with us, with our family, and I was like, oh, this is incredible. This is gonna touch a lot of hearts. So Sam, you grew up, tell me about high school, about growing up in Jackson, Mississippi.
Yeah, so I grew up in a very supportive family. Grew up in Jackson, went to St. Andrews for the majority of my life, and once I got to high school, started getting into a little bit of trouble, and ended up getting expelled from St. Andrews.
What age were you?
I think I was 16. It was like 10th grade, I remember.
Yeah.
So I had to finish 10th grade in kind of a weird way at some schools that would help me just get through the year.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going to prep.
And what did you get expelled for?
For cheating and lots of mischief, lying, cheating, stuff like
Lying,
that.
cheating.
Yeah, exactly. Just being a goofy high schooler who didn't know what he wanted to do with his life. And so after I got to prep, I started that part of life is kind of when I started having a lot of insecurities. I grew up in a Christian family. We'd go to church every weekend and had great, values and morals, but just kind of started falling off the wagon of just rebellion and, insecurities. And then eventually when I went to prep, kind of fell into the wrong crowd, and got really bad into drug and alcohol addiction.
And how did that start? Just drinking first?
Yeah, I started just drinking and things like marijuana. And then I found that the insecurities that I had were masked by the drugs, the alcohol. And then kind of started going into that downward spiral of, they made me feel less insecure. They made me feel like I fit in. They, kind of took away the struggles I had in life just because that's kind of the nature of what they do. And then eventually it started turning into more like hard drugs like cocaine, ecstasy, narcotics, Xanax and things like that. And then eventually it turns into that you're chasing your tail where the highs aren't as fun anymore. And you're always chasing that, trying to feel better, feel less insecure. And then next thing you know, I was in full-blown drug addiction by the end of my 11th grade year, starting senior year, to where I even knew I had a problem but could not get the courage to quit or even physically quit. And so and in the midst of that, just trouble followed all of it.
Right.
Barely passing high school, I had no clue what I wanted to do in my life, and quit all the sports that I was good at. And
because you were an athlete.
Yeah, I mean, I played soccer, travel team soccer, high school soccer, both at St. Andrews and prep, and starting team, and then ended up quitting that because of drug addiction. And
you just couldn't play at that high level anymore.
No, that's all I wanted to do is drugs. I just quit caring about anything that was good, quit caring about my family, quit caring about school, quit caring about sports. It was all it came down to was just, when's the next time I could do drugs?
And at that time you were not a Christian.
At that time I don't know if it was, just that rebellious phase, but I would actively claim that I was an atheist at the time, just because I don't really know exactly how that happened, but I remember specifically having those thoughts of just anger at God. And I guess it wouldn't be much atheist as I was angry at God.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I would be like, oh, there's no such thing as God. But, you know, it's like actively saying that, you're saying that actually is, you know.
Right.
So.
Right. And your parents, your mom, you said, was worried about you.
Yeah. So my parents knew something was going on, but I was doing a very good job of hiding. I mean, they was doing drug tests and stuff like that, and was getting past those, and so they didn't have like any hard evidence that I was doing, but they knew something was wrong.
Right.
And in the time I was driving my mom to the brink of insanity, as far as just her worrying that her child was going to die from this kind of stuff.
So what was your breaking point?
So after graduating high school,
low point.
yeah, the low point, the last 6 months of high school, so from like the last half of high school to graduating, I knew I had a problem. But I couldn't imagine life without drugs by this time. I couldn't imagine life without the people that I was with, even though they were not very good for me at the time. And I couldn't imagine having to go back to not having the ability to escape all the insecurities I had. And so I remember after graduating high school, you know, we did like senior trips, and the first 2 weeks of summer that year after graduating high school, I just went into a 2-week binge of drug use, and eventually something happened, and after I stopped that binge, I still kept hallucinating for about a week or two afterwards, and thought I'd fried my brain. And I just remember going to my parents at that time because I was so scared about just thinking I'd gone to the point of no return, and went to my parents and told them I had a drug problem and they needed to go to rehab.
And what was the low? Like, you were scared?
The low was low.
Like,
I remember I was talking to you about this earlier. It was like, as a 18-year-old, you know, young man, I was so scared of all of the hallucinations and everything that were happening. I was sleeping in the same bed as my mom because I was so scared of just thinking I'd fried my brain and that I'd never be normal again. And I just remember that was the scariest thought in my life. Was I'm sitting there laying in bed as an 18-year-old kid with his mom, seeing things in the room that I know aren't there, but they just don't go away. And I still can picture it to this day, and it's just it was horrifying.
Wow.
And so my only hope was just to go to my parents and be like, help.
Help me.
It was the only thing I needed to do. I felt like a child being like, help.
Yes. Like they always say in steps, the first step is admitting you have a problem.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay, I have a problem now.
And it's crazy when you know you have a problem, but you can't do anything about it.
Right.
At the time, that's when I know, like I said, that last 6 months, that's kind of where I was. But it's just fear of what does life look like without drugs and alcohol.
Right.
It was horrifying.
And your family just went into
Oh yeah, they went full force.
Yeah.
They were super supportive. Sent me to rehab. Just were very. I think they were just finally relieved. It was like, okay, like we knew something was going on.
We can
like
help.
now, let's do this as a family.
Yeah.
Like they were the loving, supporting family they always were, and you know, walked with me through rehab. It was about an 11-month process.
And talk a little bit about that.
So, you know, you always hear about like the rehabs like on TV. Oh, it's this nice experience, cush life, massages, you know, group therapy, nice meals. I had the exact opposite. And so I just remember
hardcore.
Yeah, hardcore. It was a wilderness program for 72 days, no showering, no electronics, no nothing. It was just intensive group therapy in the Utah desert, and it just got you away from everything. And you know, with these people I don't know, I just remember getting at the Utah airport, and the two people at the program just came up to me and my dad, and they were like, "We'll take it from here." And my dad and I just being like, "What are we signing up?" And I just remember they blindfolded me, put me in a car, and next thing you know, 2 hours later, I'm in the middle of the desert when they take the blindfold off, and I was just like, "This is not what I saw on TV." So.
In 3 days, you were.
3 days.
You couldn't talk to anyone.
No. So pretty much what happened is they took the blindfold off and they said, "Sit here." And I'm sitting in the middle of the desert. I'm like, "Where are the buildings? Where are the people?" And I see this group about 100 yards off that way, and they look like they're having fun. But they said, "You have to sit here." And for an unknown time, they didn't say anything. They just said, "Sit here. Here's a journal. Here's your clothes. Here's your backpack." every day we had to hike, I had to stay away from them, and they just bring me 3 meals a day, and I said sit by myself, just being like, what in the world did I get myself into? And then finally they let me join the group, and it was just intensive, group therapy, meeting with a therapist, and this was the point in time where I started seeing how therapy is cool. At the time I had no clue what I wanted to do in my life.
Right.
And so this is when I started the idea of maybe being a therapist or a psychiatrist or some type of doctor to help people, was kind of where the idea got sparked.
Because before this time,
yeah, no clue.
Grandfather surgeon, dad surgeon.
Yeah, I actually didn't want to be a surgeon.
Way.
Yeah. I actually wanted to be the exact opposite of a doctor, just because I saw how much they worked, and just that lifestyle was not very interesting to me.
Yeah. But you're like, now you're thinking I could help people too after going through all this.
I wanted to do what the therapists did for me in rehab with helping me work through all the insecurities. I wanted to do that to people, like help people work through their hard life. And so once I kind of got a straight head on me, and then I did 9 months of secondary rehab after that in Galveston, Texas, where it was more like, okay, you're sober now, let's put you back into the real world safely. So you get a job, apartment, go to school, and did that for 9 months and came back to Mississippi afterwards and was like, all right, I'm gonna go to college, I'm gonna be a doctor.
And how did that go?
Not well. So I went to Mississippi College. I remember
you're a little behind in your study habits. Maybe.
Yeah. So behind meaning I never learned how to study, actually, because I barely passed high school. And so I get to college and I'm like, cool, let's do this doctor thing. I show up. I'm still like the goofy, like very, I don't know how to describe it, just very like happy-go-lucky, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I get there and I almost failed out of college, made all season D's, and I just remember Dr. Stan Baldwin coming up to me and being like, son, if you want to be a doctor, it's time to start taking this a little bit more serious. So I was like, okay. So I went and did some shadowing with my dad and my grandfather, watched some surgeries, and then I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I was like, this is cool. Awesome. I actually do want to be a surgeon.
Yeah.
And so
that was in the blood.
Yeah. I was like, I guess I'm just born to do this.
Yes,
I have to do this.
awesome.
So it was really fun though. But
that's great.
And then grades went well, and then started figuring out how to study.
And at that time, your hair was long.
Hair was down to my shoulders. I actually had hair at one point. And so, and then
you met this cute girl.
Yeah, I met this cute girl. At the time, still not a Christian. I was doing like the Alcoholics Anonymous thing, and which is introduced me to the realm of a spirituality. And so, that helped me. A higher power, yeah. And that helped me get sober. Kind of started believing in God, and it kind of brought me back to
your roots.
Kind of a roots, like a mixture. It was like I didn't want to say it was associated with Christianity, but I was still praying to God, and it was the God that I like, the God of Jesus God, you know. And so, but I was like, no, but this is not Christianity,
right?
And so then, about second year of college, I met my future wife, and at the time, I was this long-haired guy she wanted nothing to do with, and so I finally got her to talk to me, got her to show some interest, and she was like, okay, well, I'm going to Pine Lake in Clinton because I'm gonna start going to church. Yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. I just started chasing her to church, and then
how bad could it be?
Yeah, I was like, cool, she'll hang out with me. I'll go to this church. I was like, I have no interest in it, but I was like, if she'll hang out with me, sure I'll do it. So I started going, and God just started doing some cool stuff at Pine Lake, and I remember going there, and the music was awesome. Like I was like, what is this? Like this is awesome. I was like, this is like a rock band up there. The music's really cool. They look like they're having a good time. And then after just going there, chasing her to church every week, every Sunday, started going Wednesdays, I just remember God being like, it's time. Like, I'm here. Yeah. And so I remember
pursuing you.
He was pursuing me when I wasn't even pursuing him. Yeah. And I just remember one day being like, I want to do this. I was like, but I have no clue how. And my wife Eden was figuring it out as, at the same time, just we're kind of walking side by side, trying to figure out our own journey of how we got here. And I just remember going to Michael Manuel, the pastor at Pine Lake, and Craig, who's the youth pastor. I just went to Michael at the end of a church sermon, and I was just like, hey, I was like, you don't know me, but I'm Sam, and I was like, and I want to figure out this Jesus thing. And I was like, can you help me? Wow. And he goes, yeah. And so him and Craig took me to Cups in Clinton, and it was just like, so what's up? And I was like, I want to do this Bible thing. And I was like, but I have no clue how to do this. And I was like, help me. I was like, how do I do this? And they're like, well, it's not like a, you know. I just remember looking at Mike and just kind of like, I'm not laughing at me, but just like had a smile on his face and was like, well, it's not really like a step by. It was like, yeah, it's kind of a relationship. And he started telling me about Jesus and how to do this. And he was like, look, I mean, we'll walk this journey together. And then, you know.
Was that kind of like the AA steps? I'll do the steps.
Yeah, because I was expecting it to be like okay, how do I do this? Like, give me some steps to do.
1, 2, 3, I can do it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And so.
And he's like, no, it's a relationship.
Yeah, and they just started working with me and teaching me, you know, who Jesus was, what it meant to give your life over to Jesus. And then, you know, I remember my wife getting me a Bible that I still have today on my birthday that year. And I remember we didn't really talk about this, but I remember putting it up kind of on the shelf and like, that's kind of cool. Like, I'll get to it eventually. But like the church thing's cool. You know, it's just kind of dabbling and trying to figure it out. And then I just remember one day, I remember I was struggling with like the MCAT or something. Yeah. And so I was like, I can't do this. My life kind of started backsliding again. Yeah. And we didn't really talk about this, but just like things, I was trying to figure out how to do this Jesus thing, but not fully giving into it. Right. Just trying to figure out, like, you know.
Like working out your salvation.
Working it out, working out my salvation. I just remember finally, just God being like, knock, knock, like, remember that Bible that your wife threw? Yeah. And I remember it was up in my closet, like up on the shelf where I put nothing. Wow. So I just went and got it and I started reading it. That's awesome. And then next thing you know, a year later, my wife and I were getting baptized. We're like, we want to get baptized. And so when we did like the full-blown dunking in the water.
You weren't used to that as a festival.
No, exactly, yeah. It was
we Baptists, we dunk them.
Yeah, I mean, I got like full-blown submerged. And so, but it was awesome. It's just been just a journey since then of just walking side by side with Jesus, like trying to do this life in a way that's pleasing to him.
I just look at your life and he's like, you went through such a terrible time. You said you thought you might die 3 times.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, there are so many times where I thought like I'd gone too far, overdosed, or, you know.
And I ask you, what would you say to a kid maybe that is struggling, a young person with alcohol, drugs, and what would you say to them? If you could tell them from this side.
Yeah, from this side, I mean, like,
knowing where they are.
I mean, the life that I have now following God and believing in Jesus is just so much better. And it's like, it's hard to say because, you know, it's like you look at mine, it's like, oh yeah. But it's like, I mean, life has gotten so good, even though, just like we were talking about, life is really hard. Right. Like, you know, like there's like, I could list out the things that are going on in our lives, and it's like, oh, that sounds awful, but it's still, there's the hope we have now, like
surpasses
exactly that we have in Jesus and in heaven. You know, that one day, like, all this will be better. It's like, it's hard to explain, but it's like,
answers that question, like you said.
That purpose.
I couldn't imagine life without drugs. And you're saying,
no, I can't imagine life without Jesus.
Yeah.
And it's cool, but it's just hard, but it's just so much better.
What about parents of a kid who's struggling? What would you say to parents?
Yeah, I think for the parents, my parents, I felt like did a very good job of this. It's just, once I finally opened up to them about it, they made an environment that was safe. And I think my wife, I was just talking to you about this, my wife and I are trying to figure out how do we want to raise our kid, who's, you know, 19 months right now, is I don't want anything to be off limits for him to come to us and talk to us about, because I want him to know that, like, yes, I'm your parent, but like every day I struggle with things. Every day I'm struggling with this concept of trying not to sin and trying to follow Jesus and live the life that he does. And I fail at it every day, but yeah, Jesus and God keep saying, just like you talk about, you're not Jesus. Like, that they're like, I still love you. I still care about you. And I want, you know, Archer to know that like, I'm still screwing up every day. And like, Dad looks back on his life every day and it's like, that was embarrassing. Why did like that? You know what I mean? Like, I shouldn't have done that. So they're like, you know, like, this is a constant journey.
But you're completely trusting in him. And what's your your favorite scripture?
Oh yeah, Proverbs 3:5-6. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not depend on your understandings, but seek His will in all you do, and He will direct your paths. I think that's like the most. Just like I was telling Meredith, I'm not much of a. I try and memorize scripture all the time. It just for some reason my brain's just overflowed, and I have not figured out how to make it stick. But I love reading my Bible, getting in the Word, and that verse has just stuck with me since the beginning of this, because it's like, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not depend on your own understandings. It's like every day I'm just like, there's something in life that's hard, and it's like, why is this happening? And it's like, seek His will in all you do, and He will direct your paths. And I think just resting in that, it's so nice being, okay, He's got this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, life is hard right now. Nothing's going right now.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'm just going to keep seeking Him, and He'll direct my path. It says it right there.
Right.
Like, He will.
That's
it's not He might. It's He will.
And you said that is what faith is.
Yeah, it's the faith.
Not knowing the next step.
Yeah, I think that's because, I feel like the thing that we talked about this year has been very developmental for us in our faith, and it's realizing, okay, like, we've been at this for 10 plus years, but it's like, okay, like, let's get into the meat of it.
This
like,
is where the
this
rubber
meets
the
the
road.
road. Yeah, because like we're
Yeah.
sitting there thinking, it's like we want to follow Jesus in our life, but you look at His life, and it was hard.
And
Like,
He told us.
Even He, I mean,
Yeah.
this is the Son of God saying, like, being like, God, if there's some other way, like, please, let me find, like,
right.
He struggled with those things. He went through all the struggles we went through, and He was still perfect. Yeah, it's like He understands, He gets it, and I think it's if we're supposed to follow our lives after Him, it's like, it might be hard, but we have heaven to look forward to, and we have salvation, which some days you're just like, God,
come quickly.
come on. Like, the Lord's Prayer, it's like, may your kingdom come soon. It's like, please.
That's right.
But, I don't
Well,
know.
I appreciate you so much for sharing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And what a blessing y'all are to us.
So you do the same for us.